Good morning, Bruce here. Busy morning, getting a couple of Y-bit and crash out, and now I'm going to do my combo of CONY and MSTY. So we had some activity in those. We had some trades. So the first thing they put on, and people bought into the fund. So they added, what was it? 300,000 shares, looking at the math there, but there were two additional short calls that they imposed, 365 altogether. So 200 were written at the 222 and a half, right, 222.50, and they collected 92,000 on those. And you notice I color coded them different than the 510s that are expiring with 2 trading days counting today. Oh, and by the way, happy payment day. It's now the next morning, but I sure love getting my yield max, and I also get some PBR in the oil energy space, and I get some BITO. And everything kind of comes together. The BITO pays pretty similarly from ProShares on the same day that they declare a little bit earlier, and the ex-dividends a little earlier, but they pay on 5/8. So anyway, for what that's worth, I've got a lot of other things planned for the channel in terms of some investment and trading and some things I'll be sharing with you guys going forward. But I'm going to continue these four for now, these yield max, the CONY, MSTY, Y-bit, and crash. I'll continue those and some other things that I'm going to add. But anyway, so they collected 92,000, 67,650. And like I said, there were more shares bought, more people buying the on-sale CONY and the on-sale MSTY. So let's take a look at what the synthetic looks like. So here we are with the synthetic as we approach the bewitching hour, right? We've only got 7 trading days. So I really wanted to bring, I made some format changes, so I think you're going to like those. Not only did I make this color dark, but wait till you see the holdings tab. Between that and the weekly, it's really going to show you where we are. So this is all updated. We added the same 365 contracts that we wrote separately, 200 at 222.50 and 165 at 225, right? And those were out on 5/17, right? So with 2 trading days, they wanted to collect more money, and they get more money by writing out a week. So let's talk. We've been talking about the synthetic, the 260. So it was written here, and because they're so far underneath the 260, the good news is they collect, you know, when they sell this put, they sell it for a lot more than they buy the call for. So they've got like 1.7 million, right? So that gets added to the kitty of what we already had, so our May profits are up. The issue here, guys, is we're $99 million in the hole. If we had to close that out, and the real issue, it's simple. The strike is 260, there's 7 trading days, coin's at 211. So here's what's going to happen. If we don't move up minimum of $10, probably in the first part of the day in coin, and by the way, right now coin in the early market, and this is going to be the same as Bitcoin, really. Bitcoin is maybe up, but more down. So here's coin in the aftermarket, and then I don't even know if it's actually trading. It's pretty close, 3 or 4 hours away. But this was after hours, then it becomes pre-market, and we're right about where it closed, right? It closed at 211, and we're at, the last here is around 210. So unless this thing, we need to get up to 260, which is way up there, right? Or we need to minimize that loss. So the issue becomes, you can't buy a call realistically and have enough time for it to get in the money. Yeah, you can continue to make here, but you got to pay the piper. So the best thing they can do is close this out Thursday or Friday, right? Not go into next week, because that's not a good scenario to do. You just bite the bullet and close it. Now, if we ran up to 225 or something, maybe they'll wait till Friday, but they want to be in a strike where they can start winning that strike. So they would ride a 225, a 230, something like that, right? I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So let's go look at our weekly, and then let me give you a view. Okay, so again, I'm making this dark background. These are the two new positions we wrote, right? The good news with this drop, I didn't update the chart, but it's pretty easy to see it, so I'll talk about that. So we look good, right? We've got 6.6 million to win this week. Okay, it means we already collected that money and we want to win that. We want to keep that money. And you're going to like what I did on holdings, because it's very visual to see that. Here's our current price. We dropped to 211 from 214. We went down some in CONY, not as much, right? If we go back to the May tab, here's our, I see what happened. I had to make two entries here. So it dropped 1.46% down to 211, but we dropped less than 1%, right? So we're right at that 2/3, right? We're not taking the full loss. We're taking 66.7% of the loss, right? Which is always what happens in these funds when there's a slight down cycle. Everybody always says, oh, on the up you get capped. Well, on the down we have a capping, if you will, because we're collecting premium. We're eating more of that money up. So on the weeklies, we got 6.6 million to win, and now it looks really good, right? The big bulk of them are out at 237.50. Look how far out of the money that is, right? So we look really, really good. It's 12.45%. And even this one at 230 is 8.9, right? So very strong probability we collect, and this is just crazy, crazy far, right? These are all 2 trading days. Now, these are, one of these is 222.5. I remembered it. Okay. So these have 7 trading days, and who knows, maybe, we'll collect it. So let's look at holdings. Oh, let me talk about the chart, and then I'll go to holdings. So on the chart, no real breakout volume. All we did was recede. Remember how I said we could come back to this major support at the 210-ish? So we're at 211. I really think we bounce here, right? And this, triangular, right? Is so this line, sloping line, comes over for a few more days, and this extends, and we'll break one way or the other, right? And then if it's on volume, that's going to indicate that coin is going to break down. If it's on volume on the upside, it's likely to break out. And usually breakouts, either way, a breakdown will come back to test the line where it broke down from. A breakout will do the same thing. So let's see what gives, and it may be into really next week before we see that. We're still trading in BTC at 61.5, right? We're still well within the range. It's just sooner or later this thing will break. Let's go take a look at holdings. And by the way, MSTY went through the same thing that CONY's facing right now, having to roll out and take a big loss, right? And Misty ended up pretty well. So then you're writing calls where you stand to make money with any move up instead of being underwater on that. So what I did here on the holdings is I kept this visual. I always had my synthetics grouped, but now I just came over here and made this really readable, right? This is your $99 million loss, right? Which is not good, right? It's a paper loss, but how are you going to get there in 7 trading days, right? It isn't even that. Let's say they could or thought they could. The point is, you know, it's not healthy. You want to be in a new synthetic where you're building momentum, right? I mean, they have the weeklies to collect the weekly money, but it just makes sense to get it over and behind. Like I said, if it ran up 10, maybe they'll wait till Friday, because each $10 here is about 26 million, right, that you knock off there. So 4 on top of that would be $40 added to 211, we're up to 251. So there's a little bit of diminishing returns. You know, the first 10 points up on coin are going to give you 25, the next 10 are going to give you like 22, right? So you end up having to have probably, you know, 49 worth to get all of this erased. So what I did here, this is, oh, let me show you the bottom first, because this relates directly to so cash, who cares, right? I mean, they have it. They, as you know, the reason they can have this, quote, single stock ETF fund is because they don't own the stock. The bulk, look at this, 44%, 46%, right, of the distribution. So something happened here. I made a mistake, I can tell right now. I don't really know. So I'll go back and fix that. But point being is, you know, you can't have over 100% of this stuff. But if you ever look at this, these options take very little dollars to put them on. And don't take that statement wrong. They require tremendous amounts, millions of cash to put on these thousands of contracts, right? So this is, think of it as collateral, but an ETF by definition can't own more than, I believe it's 10% in any single stock, because when exchange traded funds came out, the idea was I want a basket of stocks, right? I want to spread my risk out. Well, a normal ETF, that makes sense. You know, say I want to be in gold stocks and I want to be in gold seniors. So I got Barrick and I got Newmont and I got Anglo Gold, and so I got a bunch of similar stocks. But if the CEO or the CFO cooks the books and that company drops 30%, my risk is spread out, right? Well, this is a different kind of fund because it's targeted at income generation, right? Distributions. And there is somewhat of a safety net and slightly downside, but we're capped on the upside. Everybody go, well, coin, if you want to make money, just buy coin. It goes up a lot more than CONY when it runs. Well, that's generally true, but coin doesn't pay a dividend, and even if it paid a dividend, it's never going to pay these kinds of dividends, right? So there's a place in your portfolio, and if you want to own coin, buy some coin. I own some coin. I write calls against it, right? As well. I'm not generating the kind of money they're generating and put synthetics on, because they can trade on Bloomberg's and they can go into the flex market and not have to worry about being assigned. And, you know, there's just some institutional advantages to how they execute these. So the 1% or the 0.99 or 0.95, I think, is well earned. I don't even look at that twice. You know, knowing how to do these trades is a whole different thing, right? So anyway, we added 250, or I'm sorry, 365 on our synthetic, right? Just like we did on down here. We added this and this on 510. I'm sorry, on 517. So I make these highlighted, and I'm kind of proud of this. What I did over here is I analyzed it from what kind of money did we collect. So I call it collected, right? Because when we wrote these calls, they handed us the money. So we collected it. But what percent have we captured, right? So this is where sometimes you see a fund manager where we're up at 98% of the money with 2 trading days, and I'm like, just take it off the books, right? Buy it back and write one for next week, right? There's, you're just wasting 2 days when all of a sudden if coin took off, you're going to have to buy it back for $35. You only wrote it for 17 and it's worth 50 cents. So there's some logic to it. But so this tells me how much of the 6.5. How do I get that number? It's simple, right? I know I wrote this for 6.5 million, and I know right now it's only worth 27 cents, right? And it's worth 544,000 to close it. So that you do the math and you get the captured percentage, right? So on this one, we're at 230, so we haven't quite captured as much down at 211, right? And this, people, look at this. Because we wrote it at 255, right? We got 82,000, but we've collected 98.91, right? It's worth 3.5 cents. So to me, I would be a target for me tomorrow, right, to take that off the books, right? What if coin ran to 240? Well, it wouldn't hurt this one, right, at 255. So they may not, but you can go ahead and write into next week and get more premium, right? Get 7 days of premium instead of 5 days of premium by writing it on Friday. So these are good to kind of know. Now, on the new ones, right, this one's up a little bit. This one's not quite, right? What they wrote it for and where it settled is and sometimes I turn these red. I did it on some of my other ones where they're not declining, or sorry, it's the other way around, right? This one is a negative, right, and I'll make it red, whereas this one captured a piece of it. So I'm going to do my if statements there, conditional formatting, and work those. So again, here's 99. I cleaned this up a little bit. And I wanted you to be able, I've always had this lately, 4 trading days, right? So we're down here at 99, almost 100 million in terms of a loss. And over here, we were at 93 and 70 and 60, right? So that's where we've been trending because we've been moving down. And what's the value based on assets divided by the new number of shares, the 20,150? It says we're trading at 21.75 and fair value is 21.68. So we've got a 7-cent premium. But I think this will help. And maybe when you see it enough, it'll imprint it in your mind and you'll really start understanding. Some of you do already, I know. But for those of you that are still kind of lost, maybe it will help because it sure lays it out, and I love to teach it. So no problems with that. Let's go to payments and see how that looks. So we've got our synthetic. Now we've got a win right now, right? But we're also sitting at 99 million loss, right? So we want to get that out of the way, and if we're, I just restated what I already told you in the other. If we don't trade up, they probably will just roll it tomorrow. But if we start to move up, they may wait till Friday, but they're not going to go into next week. So I think they take the loss and roll into a lower strike, like anywhere from 225 to 230 is my gut. And they'll go out to 719 if you look across all the yield max funds. And they always, why do they always go kind of the third Friday of the month? Because those are monthlies. The weeklies, they're all out there, but the big volume and the institutional volume typically trades around the monthly expirations. So we were on a 517. The third Friday of the month in July is the 19th. You can look on the calendar and pretty much know what all your monthlies are, right? And it wouldn't go 1 month, it's too close. So they typically go 2 months out. So just a little education there. All right, let's jump in to MSTY. And MSTY also had a buy call sell put synthetic, and for 25 contracts, and they also wrote a 1335. So let's go out and look on theirs. So here they are on 5/8 putting additional. Now they're in a much better situation, right? We're under a little bit, but not that far with 719, right? We're 5.14% underneath. Is that D9? Yes, it is. Okay, I always make sure because I've got a lot now I'm doing. Sorry, we want to be back in May. Okay, so what did they do? It closed at 1233 on Mr., down 1.93%. We were down less than 1, right? So we were less than 50% of the move down that Mr. had. So again, the weeklies can help us. So we sold additionally because I don't think shares, yeah, they were. No, not up from yesterday. We were flat on shares. Now, when I say flat, they have this thing called a creation unit, and the creation unit is increments of 25,000. So we're never naive enough to think that nobody bought shares, right? It was a net zip. Somebody could have sold 45 and 3 people could have bought 100, right? So there's always some movement until it reaches 25,000 threshold. Then they report it. If they had 80, they'll show it as 75, right? 3 creation units of 25,000 shares. So that sometimes contributes to cash flow. See, there was 194,000 change in cash. But remember, these things are growing a little bit, right? These treasuries on that kind of money, 8 million, and so forth, they're making interest. On a daily basis, it's money. So what they wrote was a 1335 strike. We had 1315s and 1370s with 893 written at 1315 and only 50 here. So they came in today and got $36.70 by going out to 517, right? And they could drop the strike price a little bit. So we collected 91,750. So our running total is moving up in our short call income, and we'll take a look at that, right? So our synthetic, we bought this and sold this, so we made a little bit of money, but nothing really to speak of. We've got a 4.8 million, and I think that's a loss, right? Because we do the debits and credits, and some we want minus and some we want plus. I have to remember that, but it'll show up in our holdings tab because I did the same kind of update there. So let's go look at that. So in May we sold it, collected the money. Let's go to holdings. So here we are. So we have a bigger loss on our put than we have the gain, right? So here we're showing it as a negative, right? So in our synthetic collectively, we're losing 4 million, right? We show it one way here, we show it as a positive number, but just know that it's not a gain, right? And if it is, it's still a paper gain, right? So what we have, and this is the same method that you really want to know here, right? We're close. What did we close at? Is this the right number? Yeah, 29.92 in May, correct? And fair value is 29.84. So what I did on these net assets and shares outstanding, I'm still using them, right? So we stayed even. But what I'm doing is just using this space where they just repeat it all the time. So I put this kind of stuff, right? So here we are behind, and look at how this works. So if you come in here, and this has a value of 252 at closing, most of that is just constituted when you look at it in your weekly. Let's do it on the synthetic, on the 1300. It's right here, right? So that put has a lot of time premium to 719, and another 67 of the 252 is just because it's under 1300. If it closes at 1300 on 719, it's Zippo. The put's not worth anything, right? Which is, remember, you sold that. So you want to just collect all that money that you sold it for, right? That's where you make your money. And if it really runs and gets up to 1500, then you're going to have 200 in value here. You have 200 in value now, right? But that's all time premium. You're actually underneath 13. That's why this is bigger. It has time premium, but it's under, right? And you get penalized with the put being under. Okay, so in the holdings, here we are, and I think you'll enjoy the captured, right? Because we're winning on all these. Let's look at the weekly. So we're 11% out on this brand new, or sorry, it's not brand new. Here's our brand new. We wrote 1335s, right? And I color code these so you can see that it's 517. This is brand new weekly. And at 25, it's not much dollars. The bulk of our money is right here in this 1315, right? That's 6.65 out. I mean, this we I doubt that there's much of a chance going there with 2 trading days. So on the chart, we closed at 1233. So we came back a little bit, but we're still well above the 1180-ish on this breakout line, right? So there's a possibility we go down, or we simply reverse and go up. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. Let's see how it plays out. So we're still in this 60 to 67 BTC support range. I'll show that chart right before I sign off again, that I was using earlier in my other videos for YBIT. All right, let's go to holdings for 1 So again, we've captured 69% of the big guy, right? The 893 contracts. So we want this 9 to get down to Zippo, right? And it will pretty fast. If we close up slightly tomorrow, this thing will be $4, right? Because we're only at like 1233. So we should capture all this 2.7 million. This guy, only 50 contracts worth, is much higher. So that's why we've captured more. This $4 will be in the pennies. If we stay below 1300 at the close tomorrow, it'll probably be 80 cents or something. And these we just wrote today, right? Because they're 1335s out to 517. All right, let's go look at payments. So we don't have a real problem at all with our synthetic, right? We have money in the bank, our short call income. So we're setting with this many shares at 67 cents on our short call income and up to $2.60 on total income, right? So we got another $1.93 worth of value in this guy. So things are looking pretty good for MSTY. Let's take a look. I got coin in there. Let's look at, we can look at MSTR. That's pre-market. Oh, we got a little bounce, so it started here. But that's just getting us back up to the 1233 where the close is, right? So I assume Bitcoin's moved back up a little bit. Let's look at that. No, it hasn't. So it's sitting around, it moved up and then it moved back down. So remember, they don't trade perfectly the same, right? And these are days at a time, these dotted lines, right? It's midnight to midnight to midnight. So you can see this is early, this is after market. I take it back, this may be market close. Normally I get the dark, I get the light gray and the dark, but bottom line, this is active now, right? This is 4 hours before the market's gonna open. Okay guys, I think that's all I got for you. So we're still looking pretty good here collecting, especially in MSTY looking better than CONY. All right, so this is Bruce saying goodbye for today. Again, this is not financial advice. Always check with your financial advisor before making investments. This is for fun and education. Okay, guys, see ya. Bye. Oh, and I hope you enjoyed collecting your dividends, those that own these various funds. Yesterday is always a fun and exciting day. Okay, see ya. Bye.